Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pierce. We're going to talk American politics in this video. It won't be too long, hopefully. And we are going to discuss pardoning and commuting of sentences because Trump seems to be a massive fan of this. And I think it's another element of the outright corruption that is taking place in the US. So let's get into it. We're going to start just by talking in general about what Trump has done since the beginning of his presidency. Only 10 months in, and he has pardoned an inordinate amount of people, particularly because he pardoned almost 1,600 individuals, or more than 1,600 individuals now. At the beginning of his presidency, these were the January the 6th insurrectionists, many of who have been re-arrested because they have committed violence, sexual assault, all sorts of different things that it keeps popping up in the news. Oh, this person's now been arrested. They were pardoned in from the January the 6th insurrection, so on and so forth. Okay, so he's a big fan of this. I am not a fan of presidential pardons. I think they are problematic, and it's a weird historical, I think, anomaly almost that remains in the American political system. I don't particularly think there is a case for a single president pardoning people because it is just too easy to take advantage of. And here is the case. So what has taken place since January the 20th is nothing short of, in my view, corruption, where he is pardoning anyone that shows any kind of loyalty to him. It's what you'd expect in a dictatorship, or it's quid pro quo, where he's pardoning people who, just so happen to have given him millions of dollars of campaign financing. And the other problem here is that it stops the money going in restitution, or these criminals have been ordered to pay back to whomsoever. That then no longer has to happen. It's actually costing an awful lot of victims and people their rightful monies, and it's just bad on many counts. But it is, as I declare, I think, outright corruption. So there's even a Wikipedia page for the list of people granted executive clemency in the second Trump presidency, because it is so, the list is so very long. Now, we are hearing that P. Diddy literally might be pardoned imminently. There's been a lot of talk about that for some time. Whenever Trump is asked about these pardons ahead of pardoning people, he always talks about, I like these guys, they like me. So his reasons for pardoning are merely political, which is overtly political, and it's all about loyalty and securing that support. So we had 1,500 plus defendants in the January the 6th insurrection. Then you just got a massive list. We're going to talk about Ross Ulbricht, because this is an absolutely egregious example of how pardoning. So, well, we'll come to that in a bit, but just terrible stuff. All of these names, just so many names of people who have been pardoned in just 10 months. Absolutely incredible. The list goes on and on and on, and indeed on. Just there we go. And then you get commutations as well, which is not pardoning them, but you commute their sentence, so you just effectively let them out. And that's why I'm doing this video, because George Santos has just been added to that list, and then Changpeng Zhao as well. These two that I think are highly controversial. So just a few people. Let's just go through a number of people who have been pardoned to give you a sense of what Trump is about. So in 2017, and this is going back to Trump 1.0, Trump pardoned the former Arizona sheriff who had become notorious for hardline enforcement of immigration law in the Phoenix area. A federal judge ordered Arpaio to stop racial profiling of Latinos, and a different federal judge found him in contempt when he did not stop this activity. He would have served up to 6 months in prison for criminal contempt. I mean, Joe Arpaio is not a nice person, in my opinion, but the pardon came before he was sentenced. He said he was worthy of pardon because he was 85 years old and had more than a 50-year record of admirable service to our nation. Okay, so you can make some kind of argument maybe there, but again, this is for real Trump loyalists. Paul Manafort is one of the most controversial ones. He pardoned Paul Manafort, the chairman of his 2016 presidential campaign, in December 2020. Manafort was sentenced to more than 7 years in prison after he was found guilty of financial and tax fraud and conspiracy to witness tampering in separate trials. He is overtly connected to Russia. So the charges stem from the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Trump told reporters about Manafort's sentences, "It's a very sad situation." That was heinous. I think him doing that to Paul Manafort, Roger Stone as well. Michael Flynn as well. And this is all in Trump 1.0. Anti-abortion activists, January the 6th prisoners. So then we're getting on to more modern times. And in fact, there's a interesting Newsweek article from May. So since then, there have been more. But from this article in May, you've got, January the 6th defendants, and you got Ross Ulbricht. Now, on January 21st, I mean, this is a terrible one. Trump granted a full and unconditional pardon to Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the Silk Road dark web marketplace, an anonymous platform that facilitated sale of illegal drugs and other illicit goods using cryptocurrency. This guy was a drug trafficker using the dark web to do his stuff, and Trump pardoned him. Why? Trump wouldn't have known who this guy was. So what's going on? Now, we know his family are deeply involved in cryptocurrency. David Sachs is kind of adjacent to the administration as one of these tech oligarchs, South African tech oligarchs. Likewise, who is pulling Trump's strings here? Ulbricht had been given a life sentence in 2015 for multiple charges, including conspiracy to distribute narcotics and money laundering. The pardon fulfilled a campaign promise Trump made in the 2024 Libertarian National Convention and was supported by the libertarian and cryptocurrency communities, who viewed the sentence as an example of government overreach. He pardoned Ulbricht in spite of his parallel calls for drug dealers to be executed in the US. So he's blowing up boats full of drug traffickers in the Caribbean right now, and he's blown another 3 up, I think, yesterday. And at the same time, he's pardoning an American drug trafficker. It's absolutely despicable, in my opinion. Andrew Zabavsky, Terrence Dale Sutton Jr., full and unconditional pardons. Anti-abortion activists, Rod Blagojevich, Brian Kelsey, a former Republican Tennessee state senator, found guilty over attempting to illegally funnel money into his failed campaign for Congress in 2016. Devon Archer, a former business associate of Hunter Biden, who had been convicted in 2022 for defrauding a Native American tribe in a $60 million bond scheme. He was one that was involved in the congressional inquiry into the Biden family, testifying against Joe Biden's son. So that's why he was pardoned. Trevor Milton, founder of electric vehicle startup Nikola, in March, who have been sentenced to 4 years in prison for fraud, but remain free pending an appeal. Defrauding investors, wire fraud. They were, major Trump donors, he and his wife, having donated more than $1.8 million to his re-election campaign, according to Federal Election Commission. BitMEX co-founders. In March, Trump also pardoned 3 co-founders of cryptocurrency exchange BitMEX, Benjamin Delo, Arthur Hayes, and Samuel Reed. The trio pleaded guilty to violating the Bank Secrecy Act by failing to implement a compliant anti-money laundering program. So there's a lot of wire transfer, money laundering sort of people being pardoned, and people involved in cryptocurrency as well. What is going on here? Michael Fiore, in March, the president pardoned him. He had been convicted of 7 counts related to wire fraud for stealing $70,000. Michelle. She had collected for a memorial to fallen police officers and instead used them for personal expenses. She was pardoned. Paul Walczak, a former nursing home executive, convicted of misappropriating over $10 million in employment taxes for personal luxury spending. The pardon came after lobbying efforts by his mother, Elizabeth Fargo, a significant Trump donor. Trump's quid pro quo. Trump's decision was announced less than 3 weeks after Fargo attended a $1 million per person fundraising dinner at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. You give money to Trump, he lets criminals out of prison. Scott Jenkins. On May the 26th, Trump announced a pardon of Scott Jenkins, a former sheriff of Culpeper County, Virginia, who was convicted of accepting more than $75,000 in bribes in exchange for appointing individuals as auxiliary deputies. So Trump criticized the prosecution as politically motivated and said Jenkins was a victim of an overzealous Justice Department under Biden. Todd and Julie Crisley. Reality TV stars who were convicted in 2022 of several counts of fraud and tax evasion of over $30 million. Todd was serving a 12-year sentence and Julie 7. Their daughter, Savannah Crisley, a vocal Trump supporter, had lobbied for their release and received the news of their pardon in a phone call from the president. NBA YoungBoy, Trump pardoned rapper Kentrell Deshaun Golden, known as NBA YoungBoy, thanks to a plea deal related to a federal gun charge in Utah. In a statement posted on social media, the rapper said, "I want to thank President Trump for granting me a pardon and giving me the opportunity to keep building as a man, as a father, as an artist. This moment means a lot. It's an open door to a future I've worked hard for, and I'm fully prepared to step into this." He also thanked Trump's pardon czar, Alice Johnson. And there are people that are working in the background on a lot of these pardons, and it's all kind of seems to me very nefarious. Young boy continued, "Big thanks to pardon czar, Ms. Alice Marie Johnson, for fighting for a second chance for so many people." Now, this is one of your more sort of classic, looks to be like the sort of pardon you've seen more of in the past. There are pardons that take place due to overtly political reasons. And you could argue all of them are in some way political, right? But it seems that Trump errs much more towards people who are donating money to him, involved in scandals that possibly some way involve people that Trump knows or donors to Trump, so on and so forth. On May the 28th, Trump pardoned former Congressman Michael Grimm, who stepped down following a conviction for tax fraud. The clemency was confirmed by a White House official speaking anonymously, as no formal announcement has been made at the time. Grimm, a Republican from New York, was re-elected in 2014, even while facing a federal indictment for underreporting wages and revenue at a health food restaurant he owned. He later pleaded guilty to the charges, resigned in early 2015, and served an 8-month prison sentence. He attempted a political comeback, but failed to reclaim his seat. So there is that as well. So then we hear about George Santos. George Santos is a very controversial Republican congressman who is just never what he claims he is. There's nothing about him that's true. He's a serial liar. He's one of the most controversial and colorful people, I think, in American politics. In 2024, he pleaded guilty to 23 felony counts. So, this is not like unfairly prosecuted. The man pled guilty, included fraudulent Federal Elections Commission's filings, identity theft, and unemployment insurance fraud. He admitted to stealing donors' identities and charging their credit cards without authorization, using the money for personal purchases such as designer clothing, Botox, and OnlyFans subscriptions. After he was criminally charged, Santos became the 6th member to ever be expelled from the U.S. House of Representatives on the 1st of December 2023, halfway through his first term representing New York's 3rd Congressional District. His expulsion followed a detailed investigation by the House Ethics Committee, which uncovered extensive evidence of misconduct. Okay, so he was sentenced to 87 months in prison and ordered to repay more than $370,000 in restitution and forfeit more than $205,000. And I think that restitution money is probably not going to go anymore. Unlike a pardon, a commutation does not expunge his criminal record. So he still has that on his criminal record. It's not that he was not guilty of doing those things. I mean, he admitted them, but it's just like, oh, we're just not going to make you pay for those crimes. You've admitted those crimes. It's gone through the court system. You should be doing time for that. But because you're Republican and Trump likes you, you don't have to serve your time or something. So why did Trump commute George Santos's sentence? Trump directly cited Santos's political alignment in the Truth Social post justifying commuting his sentence, writing, "At least Santos had the courage, conviction, and intelligence to always vote Republican," all caps. Right. So if you are Republican, Trump, you've got a much greater chance of being released from prison by Trump. I mean, and he's overtly saying it. He says a quiet part out loud the whole time, Trump. Trump also said that Santos had been horribly mistreated and held in solitary confinement for long periods of time. He compared Santos's crimes to Democratic Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal's past misrepresentations of his military service, claiming this is far worse than what George Santos did. No, it's not. No, it wasn't. Might have had some help there from Marjorie Taylor Greene as well. Was George Santos's commutation politically motivated? So this news article says when asked about Trump commuting Santos's sentence, Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson denied that had anything to do with party affiliation, despite, of course, what Trump had just said. Though he later said that he considers Santos a viable candidate for the future. That's not the reason, Johnson said in an appearance on ABC. That's one snippet of what he said, among many things, about George Santos. When asked in a separate interview with Fox News if Santos would be welcome in the Republican Party, Johnson responded, well, of course. I mean, that's our system. If the people duly elect a representative, then we will welcome them into the body. You know, it doesn't matter whether they are convicted criminals, right? And remain so because their sentence has been commuted. It's still a convicted criminal. So on and so forth. So anyway, just let's listen to a bit of Jessica Tarlov on this. Now, she says this is corruption in broad daylight, because actually this is not on this as in on George Santos. Now we're going to go across to a chap called Changpeng Zhao. Trump has pardoned Changpeng Zhao, the convicted founder of the crypto exchange Binance. So again, we're back into cryptocurrency, following months of efforts by Zhao to boost the Trump family's own crypto company. As Jessica Tarlov rightly says, corruption in broad daylight. It's absolutely outrageous. Tommy Vital from Pod Save America says Binance willfully failed to report transactions on its platform by Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. But then Trump's crypto company made a multi-billion-dollar deal in partnership with Binance, so Trump gave the founder a pardon. Shockingly brazen corruption. This is unbelievable. Like, oh, yeah, we're going to be hard against these Muslim extremists and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, no, we're going to do a deal with someone that's platforming them. And then we're going to pardon the guy that was allowing those extremist organizations to be platformed. It's outrageous. So terrorist financing. Binance failed to report to FinCEN transactions associated with terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, Hamas, Al-Qasim brigades, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Ransomware, despite being one of the largest receivers of ransomware proceeds and transacting in millions of dollars of ransomware proceeds from attacks involving at least 24 different strains of ransomware, Binance failed to report these transactions. So we've got terrorist financing, we've got financing from ransomware, child sexual abuse materials. Oh, surely it can't get worse. Binance never reported transactions with websites devoted to selling child sexual abuse materials, including the website Dark Scandals. And then darknet markets, scams, and other illicit activity. Despite sending and receiving virtual assets proceeds from large stock-scale hacks, account takeovers, and darknet markets dealing in illegal narcotics, go and look at Ross Ulbricht, counterfeit and fraud-related goods and services, as well as other illegal contraband, Binance never reported any such transactions. And this is who Donald Trump is pardoning, or actually commuting the sentence thereof. It is absolutely unconscionable. This is Donald Trump talking about it.
The founder of Binance. Can you explain why you chose to pardon him, and did it have anything to do with his involvement in your family's?
Which one was that?
So, just before we go on, virtually every single time questions like this come up, Trump clearly exhibits that he doesn't know what's going on here. Like, he might have some vague idea about this guy, but will pass it on to someone else, or has only a very kind of vague overview of what's happened. Trump is being manipulated. The Trump administration, the American government, is not being run by Trump. He is not really the president. There are people around him that are pulling his strings. He is merely a puppet, a marionette in the hands of these puppeteers around him.
Founder of Binance. He has an involvement in your own family's crypto business.
I believe we're talking about the same person, because I do pardon a lot of people.
I'm not quite sure who you're talking about, because I pardon so many people. I haven't got a clue, really, because it means that much to me. I don't even know his name. Yeah, this guy. Yeah.
I don't know. He was recommended by a lot of people.
Oh, he's just recommended by a lot of people. I don't really know why I pardoned him. My arm just. Oh, hang on. Sorry, I can't control my own movements because I'm being operated by someone else. A
lot of people say that. Are you talking about the crypto person?
The crypto person. Not even mentioning Binance, not even mentioning the guy's name. Oh, just the crypto person.
People say that he wasn't guilty of anything. He served 4.
People say he wasn't guilty of anything. Just people, other random people. You know, I spoke to Jim on the street the other day. I spoke to the guy that was working in that grocery shop. Have you heard of groceries? Are these things that you buy in shops, like bacon and stuff? Anyway, I spoke to the guy in the grocery shop, and he told me that he wasn't guilty. And then I was watching Fox News, and 9,000 people on that channel said he wasn't guilty.
4 months in jail, and they say that
They
he
say
was not guilty of anything. That what he did. Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know.
I'd love to have one day in a press corps in the White House, and I would just go to town on him. I know I'd be kicked out and I'd never be allowed back in the country, but I'd have my day of glory of just going to town on this gargantuan buffoon. I would just say, I know nothing about crypto. Sunshine, you tell me something about crypto. You've given statements. You've gone to crypto conferences and admitted you don't know what you're talking about. You've been up there blathering on about virtually nothing comprehensible. And you don't even know this guy's name or what company he works for or that he founded. You tell us the details. Tell us why you've pardoned him. Don't tell me I don't know about crypto. You don't know me. He's such a terrible human being, Donald Trump. Anyone that likes him, I'm sorry. Anyone that likes this guy is an idiot. Is an idiot.
4 months in jail, and they say that he was not guilty of anything. That what he did. Well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news. But let me just tell you.
Just go up there and slap him around the face. Honestly, I give you full permission to go up there, slap him once, twice, thrice, and then just keep going until your hand is fully orange.
That he was somebody that, as I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him.
I was told, I don't know him. I don't believe I've ever met him. Don't even know his name. Don't even know the company he founded. But I was told, by the way, you don't know anything about crypto. You don't know anything about what you're talking about. You're fake news. So anyway, I was just told about, I don't know anything about this guy. You don't know anything about it. Anyway, I don't know anything about this. You don't know.
But I've been told by a lot of support. He had a lot of support.
Well,
and they said that what he did is not even a crime. It wasn't a crime. That he was persecuted by the Biden administration. And so I gave him a pardon at the request of a lot of very good people.
At the request of a lot of very good people. Turns out I'm not running this administration. Bernie Sanders. This year, Trump's big beautiful bill gave Google an $18 billion tax break, Amazon a $16 billion tax break, Microsoft a $12 billion tax break, Facebook an $11 billion tax break. And now they're writing checks to Trump for $300 million for his ballroom. Gee, I wonder why. This entire administration is the most corrupt American administration in the history of American politics. End of. There is no contest. That is that. It is signed, sealed, and delivered as a conclusion. There is no greater corruption than we have seen in American politics than what has taken place in this mere 10 months. And pardons are just one small microcosm of a much greater landscape of corruption. Good luck, America.